Hi, my name is Sergio Rivera, and this is Technical Demo 2 for Sand Chemistry. And since Technical Demo 1, we've had a pretty big shift. Initially, we had the centerpiece of our application was the chat, right? Which is a predictive chemical analysis model, which is meant to, it gives you put in the reactants, you get the products, you get the intermediate steps, you get the explanations for those intermediate steps. And in reality, it's just a tool. It's a tool that's part of a broader ecosystem, and that broader ecosystem is what we want to create. It's the learning platform. We don't just want to help students with specific types of problems. We want them to actually be able to learn organic chemistry through our learning platform. So I kind of asked myself, if I want to make that ecosystem, what should I primarily focus on? And the conclusion that I came to was the lessons. And I'm pretty proud of the approach that I've taken when it comes to the lessons because so a lesson, the way that we're doing it is a lesson is comprised of lesson blocks, right? And the way that you can kind of think of these lesson blocks is pre-formatted components. So the way that you a way to think about that is it's so we have our performance data, our performance metrics on specific kinds of content, and from that we write the lesson and we break it up into blocks. We have lesson block A, and because of our and from our data we figure out, okay, this is probably best put into format C. Then lesson block 2, format A, lesson block 3, format F. Right now we have 16 different lesson formats. And you might ask yourself, what is the point of this? Why would you go through this extra trouble to format your stuff? How exactly does it help you? What do you gain from this? And the answer is there are five primary things that we benefit from making these lesson formats. And one of them is, which in my opinion is probably going to be the most insignificant one, is a pattern recognition for the user. So the user is going to go through, and as they go through the lessons, they're going to repeatedly see this type of format, and they will subconsciously understand, okay, I've seen this before. This is probably where this content is. This is probably where that content is. And it's easier for your brain to kind of orient itself. Two is A/B testing. It allows for A/B testing based off of our performance metrics. We can substitute the first lesson block, let's say our data says, or let's say we don't have enough data on that kind of content. So we put it into C. We gather our performance metrics and then we put it into, for other people, we put it into E. Okay, and then from there, from that data, we can figure out what is the best lesson format from one content and then have more varied data on it and have a better guess as to how we should structure the next lessons. Three, it helps us with our production cycles. So we just write the lesson and then, okay, based off of our data, we can figure out, okay, this is goes into format A, format C, format E. And then we very quickly are just able to put it in and make the lesson just make the lesson. And four is we understand that our primary audience, especially as we go into Orgo 2, which will be where we spend most of our time on, is going to be students studying for the MCAT and students studying for the D18. And this is still important for just students in general, but who are in pre-med or studying these classes, it's flashcards. Flashcards are a huge way that students learn and kind of memorize the information that they need to memorize. So we wanted to facilitate that for you. So these formats allow us to do this, allow us to make the flashcards that we need to do it instantly, right? Which is huge. It's huge. And then you can add it to whatever deck you want to add it to, right? And the last one is the mobile. The fifth reason is the mobile pipeline. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a mobile app. But obviously, a mobile app can't look like this. It can't just be text on a screen. You need an interactive component to it. Right? It needs to, well, no, it needs to be interactive completely. You can't really have random text on it. So what we're gonna do is we're going to have, for example, we have format A, and then we realize, okay, format A, we have widgets, we have these specific widgets, we have this certain quantity, right? And then so that as we collect more data, we create a more and more robust pipeline from web lesson to mobile lesson. So I don't have to write two separate lessons, which is, saves me an enormous amount of time. And so you might ask yourself, what are these interactive components that I'm talking about? What are these widgets? What's it going to look like for the mobile app? And not just the mobile app, but it's also in the web application too. It's just not as many interactive components. And the way that it looks like is this. So we have a bunch of different widgets which do a bunch of different things. And the problem right now is that we have very specific widgets. This is not a good example of that. This is just great across the board because it lets you practice any number of reactions because you get the steps for it, you see the reaction conditions, and then you see, okay, I need to do you need to figure it out from the lessons that you've gone through, right? And then this is another one that's more broad because you can see any type of reaction and you can kind of you have to put in the reaction conditions for it. But a more specific one would be that I have a problem with would be kind of this, right? Because when you're ranking these groups, it's more or less in specific. It's not a general widget. Or this one's a problem too, because this is specific to functional group lessons, right? And they're fantastic for learning that specific kind of lesson. And we will make specific widgets for specific lessons. But we also need to work on general widgets that are broadly applicable, right? This one, to a certain degree, is a broadly applicable widget. And yeah, this is another specific one, which is a problem, right? But yeah, this is kind of what our interactive components would look like. And yeah, yeah. But the another goal in the future is to make them more for application-based questions because our primary audience, which we hope will be students studying for the MCAT, the MCAT is not just, oh, you have it's not just memorization. You have to apply the knowledge that you've learned. So when we look at this is another new component, the question of the day, right? We have if you're in the different courses, if you're in the MCAT course, you'll get a more application-based question versus if you're just in the Orgo 1 course, you'll get a question like this, right? Where you just answer it's a straightforward question that you would get on an exam or something. And then for the reward, it's a little bit of a gamification where if you get the question right, you get an uncommon fishbowl. If you get it wrong, you get a common one. So you can kind of upgrade rarity. Wow, I barely did. And then you get moon rocks from it. And what you do with moon rocks is you can dress up your sand, right? So you can change the color. You can change the shirt, stuff like that. You can change his jackets. So I want to put this on or just buy this one. Yeah. So yeah, and another thing that we're providing is the teachers. We're providing is the teachers and the teachers portal, right? Where they can assign assignments, quizzes, flashcards, or I mean distribute their flashcards and then see their user analytics. The integrity is one that is iffy. I'm going to figure out if I'm going to do this or not. Yes, there is the disclosure for the students that their data is being collected to kind of record their academic integrity. And there's different ways that we kind of do this, and it's not always extremely accurate because something could happen, but it's just a way to notify the teachers. I'm not sure if I change this or not, and I just remove this altogether. I would have to just read more about it and see what I am and am not allowed to do. And I've been talking about the mobile component. I haven't really finished the mobile app, but this is kind of the general idea of what you'd see. So we have our lessons, and then you just start them and you have your practice, your classes, all of that, and then you have your question a day, you know. Very, very simple, very minimal. This is kind of the idea that I wanted to go with. And yeah, that seems to be everything for technical demo 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.